Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. This is our monthly GPU market update for April 2024, and we've got crazy GPU prices. In fact, many GPU prices may have hit their absolute low point. They may be bottomed out here. So we'll go through all the GPU news, including current pricing, the best GPUs at 1080p, 1440p, and 4K, and should you buy now or should you wait? Remember, if you get value out of this video, give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel, especially this guy right here. And of course, subscribe, click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. With that, let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by ColoLite. The ColoPlay all-in-one desktop controller takes your PC experience to the next level. Monitor your PC performance in real time with CPU and GPU usage and temps. Use the command dial function to integrate multiple settings, including quick message reply, game launching, and more. You can even use it to upload custom wallpaper and start up your PC with one click if your PC supports Wake on LAN. ColoLite also provides RGB products like the ColoLite Mix Lite and their gamepad stand. Boost your PC setup by clicking the link in the video description. Let's jump into 2024 GPU prices in April. We're going to start off on the AMD side, then we're going to work through Intel and NVIDIA, of course. And there have been not as many changes this month, but I think some important ones, especially if you're looking for like the best 1440p GPU around that kind of $300 to $400 price bracket. But let's start off with the high end. We got the 7900 XTX down to $899. They just keep whittling away at that price and whittling away at it. And you got a couple of nice models right here, including the MSI Gaming Radeon RX 7900 XTX, $929 with a $30 promo code. That's where you get $899 from. You also have the XFX Speedster one. I'd probably pick up the MSI one. That's a nice model. Over the 7900 XT, it just continues to be $699. $699 for that card. Remember, it launched at $899. That was a dumb price. $699 is a much better price for that GPU. And it's not just that one model is at $699 anymore, and not just at Walmart, it's everywhere now. $699, $699, even like the white and more premium ones have all been dragged down by that $699 price. 7900 GRE, not any real big change. There's basically a $10 discount on one of the cards right now, so you can pick that up for right around $539. We will talk a little bit more about the performance that just got unlocked by AMD earlier this month, including they fixed the drivers basically, so you can actually overclock that card. But let's jump to the 7800 XT because that is down to $479 right now for the ASRock Challenger. And again, I think as we see the prices for those GRE, remember I told you when the GRE was introduced, there's not that much of a price difference between that and the 7800 XT. I felt like the 7800 XT more than likely going to fall in price, and we can already see that happening. But the big one, and I think the big winner here, is going to be the 7700 XT. Right now at $399. Finally, AMD, finally. That is what I said that card needed to be at when it freaking launched. When it freaking launched. It's got 12 gigs of VRAM. It's considerably faster than its competitor, the 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte card, which we'll go through in just a moment. And on top of that, it's not just one model anymore that's $399. Look at this. Most of the models are now at $399. I expect the rest of these to continue to follow suit. And as we'll see in a second, with the 6700 XT, 6750 XT kind of drying up as that best 1440p GPU out there, this one may take its place. Not a lot of change for the rest of the GPU stack other than the 6700, 6750 XT stock is getting ultra low. You can't even find a 6700 XT at Newegg anymore. They're all 6750 XTs. You can't find one at Amazon still. So if, again, these are still phenomenal GPUs, and they did go on sale on a flash sale for $309. So there still are some sales out there if you want to pick one of these up. No real change to the rest of the stack other than the 6650 XT, down $10. That's nice. And the 6600 kind of remains around that $185 to $190 price point. Let's quickly punch through Intel GPU prices in April 2024. Won't spend a lot of time here, but there have been pretty steep price cuts here. RK 770 down to back to $279. It had been like $279, $269 earlier. That's a 16 gigabyte GPU. And with the newest driver updates, more huge updates on that. We'll talk a little bit about that. I feel like Intel is so close here. They're so close. Don't give up just yet on us. $279 right now over at Newegg. But the big one that got a price cut is the A750. You can see it down to $189. I really feel like that's where this GPU needs to be. I don't know why any of the other ones aren't selling for that, but ASRock seems to be like, hey, we're going to just fire sell these things. Either they're just trying to dump them and get rid of them, or they think this is actual valid price, and I do too. And the ARC A580, they are practically giving that GPU away at $164. Now, yes, only 8 gigs of VRAM, but $164 for a brand new GPU just seems really insane. Let's jump into 2024 GPU prices on the NVIDIA side in April. And honestly, these prices, there's only a couple big movers we'll talk about, but there are big movers. Let's start off with the almost humorous RTX 4090. Now the price is down to $1799, but it seems like it could go even lower than that. Right now, that's the Gigabyte Gaming GeForce one. You can pick up some of the other ones for about $50 more. 4080 Super, I kind of hemmed and hawed on this one. $999 technically in April. There is one model out there at $999. That's the Zotac Gaming one. This one keeps selling out though, and there is one that you can back order from PNY for $50, but then another Zotac model. But if you want any of the other more recognized board partners, Gigabyte, MSI, ASUS, etc., you're paying more like $1,120. So I went and put it in for $999, but you can decide whether or not that's the actual price it should be, or if that's kind of just a special option. Not a lot of change around the 4070 Ti Super. You can still find several models out there at $799, but the 4070 Ti, they're basically just trying to get rid of this card. They're using it to compete with the RX 7900 XT. Right now, you can pick it up for $679, and that's the Gigabyte one too. That's not a bad card. This is a phenomenal graphics card that's completely kneecapped by its lack of VRAM at this price point. 12 gigs of VRAM for like $700. Though I will say $689, if you compare this to some of the 4070 Supers, it's not that far off. 4070 Super, not a lot of change there, $589. And I will say the nice thing about this is that a lot of the models have actually come down in price around that MSRP. There was way too many models that were way higher than that, but they've all kind of started to drift down towards $599, including even the more premium, like the white ones and everything like that, because you got promo codes going on some of these. So it looks like maybe they're not selling as well as NVIDIA was hoping, and they're trying to kind of juice this up. 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte card. A moment ago, it was $449. It's come down to $439. A promo code got applied to one of the cards basically here for $10, which, hey, it's a Zotac card. I know some people don't like Zotac cards, but if you look, all the rest of the models are well over their new MSRP now, $469, $479, $479. So they're actually above that MSRP, just that one card. No real change to the rest of the stack. RTX 3060 12 gigabytes. Seems like some additional supply has hit the market, at least in the US, driving that price back to $289. RTX 3050, kind of remains at $219 in kind of the who cares category. Otherwise, GPU prices, we may be hitting the bottom. All right, we got some news on GPU launches and when they're coming. So if you want to take this into account on buying a next GPU, and we'll talk more about this in Should You Buy Now or Wait, AMD is going to launch its RX 8000 series of GPUs. That's RDNA 4. We're expecting this either very, very late 2024 or 2025, basically. And remember, they've already canceled the top-end cards. They're using a multi-chip module because they just couldn't get them to work. They're going to accelerate RDNA 5, which is going to be RX 9000, to hopefully accelerate that in development and get those cards sooner. In the meantime, they're going to basically launch a mid-range cards and lower end cards. The mid-range cards are Navi 48, the lower end cards are Navi 44. In terms of the news we got, it was basically a leak around what performance we can expect. Basically, the mid-range card for the next generation, we can expect to perform somewhere between a 7900 GRE and a 7900 XTX. I know that's a pretty wide gulf there, so who knows exactly where that's going to be. And then the more mainstream card, they're basically expecting somewhere between a 7600 XT and a 7800 XT. So again, pretty wide gulf there. Can't really determine when that's going to happen. We don't even really know the pricing on these. We'll talk more about this and Should You Buy Now or Wait, but it's kind of hard to wait for when you have this little information. The other thing people might be waiting for is Intel Battlemage. We did get some good news on this. It looks like the G21 and G10 dies are out there. They are launching and shipping to partners out there. So there's active testing going on. And we just got another Intel driver update that massively increased performance in a lot of games for their ARC GPUs. All this is portending very, very good. When are we going to get these cards? I don't know. This is the supposedly leaked roadmap right now. It says that the G10 was supposed to launch in the second quarter of 2024. Now remember, this has been out for a long time, so it's possible that these dates just don't even exist anymore. They've been pushed back into 2025, but that would be sometime in the next couple of months. Now I will say Intel does have a keynote reserved at Computex in June of 2024, and that is still in the second quarter. So it's possible that they could paper launch something then, but hard to say just based on this roadmap. Let's jump into the best price performance GPUs in April of 2024. April of 2024. If you're not familiar with how we do this, we basically take all the GPUs that we're tracking with more than 8 gigs VRAM out there, both used and new. We put in their prices, both used and new, and their performance versus an RTX 3060 12 gigabyte GPU, and we get a price to performance. And we break it down to the best under 200, best 1080p, 1440p, and 4K. And remember, this spreadsheet is linked down in the video description. These are US-based prices. If you want to put in your own pricing and do this calculation yourself, you certainly can. Starting off with the best GPU under $200. And yes, I made some changes. It was $150 last month, but that was only used values. And I heard from you guys, you really like the best under 200 category. So we're going to go back to this. If you want the other way, let me know down in the comments. Maybe we'll kind of do both. Who knows? If you're looking for an ultra budget gaming PC right now, you can still put one together with like a used RX 570, 8GB GPU. You can pick them up for as low as $57, though it does seem that supply of those GPUs out there is drying up. A lot of the miners are just completely getting rid of whatever they have left. And that's why I would take a look at a used GTX 1070 Ti, pretty good value still for right around $100, and it's going to give you that same level of performance like a GTX 1660 Super, but with more VRAM. So 2 thumbs up there. If, of course, you're looking for more on the higher end, it's kind of hard to recommend any of these used values, kind of more in the middle here. I do really like instead like the Arc A580. If you're on a super tight budget and you want a new GPU, might be worth looking at if you feel like you can do some troubleshooting out there. There's, of course, the RX 6600 if you feel like you can't. $189, still an absolutely insane value. You can play many games at 1440p on that card, but definitely everything at high frame rates at 1080p. And of course, you also have the Arc A750 out there, basically the same price out there. Again, if you feel comfortable troubleshooting some of those Intel GPU issues. Jumping over the best new GPU under $300. So this is still like kind of 1080p land, maybe some titles in 1440p. Though again, remember, we're only getting 8 gigs of VRAM for most of these GPUs. Again, the Arc A580, A750, and RX 6600 continue to be outstanding values under $200. We just went over those. If you want a little bit more punching power, 6650 XT, honestly, for $229, that GPU continues to slide in price. It's a nice little bump in performance. The rest of these GPUs here, really, I think what you're focusing on is getting to 12 gigs of VRAM or 16 gigs of VRAM with either the Arc A770 or the RTX 3060 12GB. But in terms of the performance doesn't really change that much. It's mostly the VRAM you have access to. All right, now here we are at the best 1440p GPU. Now this is a top 15, just a top 15. There's no cost involved here, but it has to be at least an RTX 3060 12GB performance or higher and have at least 12 gigs of VRAM. Now we have both used and new cards in here. Honestly, the RX 6800 XT, I've removed the new price. There's barely any listings of them, but you can pick one up used right now for $376, and it's an insane value at that price, as is the 6800. Although there's one listing for a 6800 out there, you can still find it new at least in the US market, but may not be other markets. If you're looking for NVIDIA, the RTX 3080 12GB continues to be a decentish value, but $459, a little bit ouch on the price there, especially given its competition out there. And then we get into, honestly, some pretty great values. Now look at this. The 6700 XT, 6750 XT had been our insane 1440p value around that $329 price point. But look at it. It's been eclipsed now by the 7700 XT, the 7800 XT, and the 7900 GRE based on more performance and now some price cuts on those GPUs as well. So those GPUs, they're looking really, really stellar in terms of the value, and particularly the 7800 XT and 7900 GRE, 16 gigs of VRAM to go with everything else, although you're obviously paying a price premium for that. The rest of these GPUs, you don't even see the 4060 Ti 16GB on the top 15 list because it just doesn't make it. The 4070 Super down there quite a ways. If you want NVIDIA, it's kind of rough in this price point. Again, I would urge you, as I have in the past, spend a little bit more money, get the 4070 Ti Super instead with 16 gigs of VRAM, but I know that's a lot more money. 7900 XT, if you're looking for more like a 240 hertz experience, we'll go through that in just a moment, makes this list at $699 and starting to outpace some of those other cards like the 4070. Filtering out for the best 240 hertz 1440p GPU. So this is where the GPU score now goes to 180. We still want 12 gigs or more of VRAM, and I filtered down to a top 10 so we can just focus in on this because we'll go to 4K in just a moment. Aside from our used values, which really don't change too much, the 3080 up there, 6950 XT, the 6800 XT, we still focus in on like the 7800 XT, the 7900 GRE. Not a lot of NVIDIA values out there. I was kind of hoping the 4070 Ti Super would do better on this list, but I think the 4070 Ti Super, really, you got to factor in like DLSS and all those features. They're really kind of 4K features in order to compete with this 7900 XT's price of $699 because they've just been hacking away at that price. And like I keep saying, if you're just looking for super high frame rates or competitive shooters, the 7900 XT, that's the GPU that I've been playing Helldivers 2 on consistently and get tons of frames. I play at 4K actually, but you get tons and tons of frames at 1440p. Just a huge value out there right now. Jumping over the best 4K GPU in April 2024. So this is where the GPU score bumped up a little bit to 216 gigs or more of VRAM. I really feel like you need this 16 gigs or more of VRAM to say it's a 4K kind of ultra settings card now and into some reasonable period in the future. We won't talk too much about the used values. The 7800 XT will basically give you 60 to 70 FPS at this performance level at 4K. So you can just kind of orient yourself on that based on the rest of the cards. Now, these are rasterization features in terms of price to performance. Remember, at 4K, DLSS does become a factor, ray tracing does become a factor. So if those features are important to you, you might want to kind of adjust that price to performance in your mind in terms of figuring out which GPU is going to be the right one for you. That's the only one that matters, right? You got to get the best GPU for you. And honestly, we talked about the 7900 XT, just insane value. Again, I've been playing Helldivers 2 at 4K on that thing. That thing just kind of crushes a lot of 4K gaming. The 7900 XTX, $899, that's a really compelling price. But the price to performance, you can see the gap between the 7900 XT and the XTX. It goes from $277 to $3.11 in terms of its price to performance. So there is kind of a big jump in there. I think the XTX still feels a little overpriced to me. The 4070 Ti Super, also $322, feels a little overpriced unless you take into account DLSS ray tracing. If you're somebody who wants DLSS ray tracing, those NVIDIA feature set, then yes, I would go for the 4070 Ti Super. That would be my pick. I actually think that is the 4080 card that we really should have gotten in this generation. The price is about right. The performance is about right. The 4080, hey, it's nice to see it at $999. Kind of makes a somewhat more compelling option now that it's out there. It's not like $1,200 anymore. You'll note I have combined the 4080 and the 4080 Super. They're just the same performance. The 4080s are basically vanishing out there. And of course, we've got the king of GPUs within stupidly bad price to performance, but it doesn't really matter because it's the highest performance GPU out there. That's what it survives on. It's the RTX 4090. Right now, $1799. Let's play everyone's favorite game. Should you buy now or should you wait? Well, honestly, what are you waiting for at this point? New GPU launches look like they're probably end of 2024 and or 2025. That's almost a year away. And then you're only talking like the RTX 5090 if you're an NVIDIA person. The 5070, who knows when that thing's going to come, right? Maybe months and months and months afterwards into 2025. So we're talking about a long time. AMD and NVIDIA just don't have any incentive right now to launch GPUs while they're still selling through RTX 4000 and RX 7000 series GPUs. Obviously, Intel, they're just trying to launch something. Hopefully they can get it out. They could be 2025 as well. We'll have to wait and see. Fingers crossed until we definitely need that third competitor. But let's go through each segment. At the budget end of it, nobody's coming for you. Nobody's coming to help you anytime soon. So I would just go ahead and pull the trigger on whatever you think you need. We'll get some sales like, Amazon Prime Day sale will be the middle of June is typically when they do it. They wait until the last minute to announce it. I don't have any inside information. I'm just going on past history. But what are you going to save? Like I did a calculation a couple months ago. You save like 10%. I'm not going to wait 3 or 4 months to save 10% on a GPU. I pull the trigger and just get into the games you want to play right now. More in the mid-range, I really do like the 7700 XT. I think that's a good value at $399. We wish, of course, it had a little bit more VRAM. I think the price on that might decay a little bit, but I wouldn't wait for it at this point. Then slightly higher, kind of more in the solid mid-range, I like the 7800 XT. Great GPU, 16 gigs of VRAM, 16 gigs of VRAM for $479 right now. It just seems like an absolute steal compared to my NVIDIA options, especially as I'm reading about the next gen consoles and how much VRAM that they might have, just understanding that 12 gigs might go stale a lot faster than 8 gigs did. I really do like that 16. Then we get into high-end stuff, and I think your options are really solid there. 7900 XT, I think is a super solid option for anybody out there. I also do like the 4070 Ti Super. If you absolutely have to have NVIDIA and you want 4K and you like DLSS, and you want ray tracing, that's the card to me that's the 80 series card of this generation. Despite all the stupid naming that we've gone through with this generation, to me, that's the real 80 series card because it's only $100 more than the 3080 was. It's a bump up in VRAM, quite a bump up in terms of performance, ray tracing, rasterization. So I really do like that card. The 4080, if that price holds, the Super, I really like it at $999 as well. It's just, it kind of seems like maybe a mirage price. So if you can pick one up now, great. The only people I could consider maybe waiting, I don't know, 4090s, but you're talking like end of the year or maybe next year for the 5090. I mean, who knows when NVIDIA is going to launch this stuff. I think if history is any judge of this, they'll just wait as long as they can. Doesn't seem like, to me at least, there's a huge incentive for them to go now, so I just pull the trigger. Remember, if you got value out of this video, then give it a like. This makes a huge difference to the channel, especially this guy right here. And of course, subscribe, click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. Hey, speaking of cool content, did you check out our best Ryzen motherboard 2024 video? We go through all the best Ryzen motherboards right here. Check it out, and we'll catch you on the next one.